I've always struggled to master an instrument, and actually maybe what I've got to learn is you don't ever master it. You just need to find a way of creating a sort of easy truce with it.
To try and see the piano in a different light, Sue's heading to one of London's top jazz clubs.
My rather sort of stolid, mechanical, scale-based form of playing is going to be hugely challenged, so I'm scared, but also quite excited.
As a 10-year-old prodigy, pianist Neil Cowley performed Shostakovich to a packed Queen Elizabeth Hall before turning his back on classical music to focus on soul and jazz with 07, Adele, and now his award-winning band, the Neil Cowley Trio.
Because I view this as a disciplinarian. You just look at the colour of it. It's like a coffin. It's like it's really scary. And then to sort of feminise it, to make it interesting and warm is really hard.
I was classically trained like yourself, and I'm full of those neuroses myself.
Are you?
Oh, totally. So eventually I began to realise that I could hide inside the noise of this thing. I mean, look, for instance, I've got a tune, it's called Box Lily. I had an incident with my second child, my daughter, and she was born extremely prematurely. And I actually then wrote a piece for that in order to use it as a catharsis. You know, I'm not good with words, so I really use this as the only source of expressing how I feel and how close to tears I might feel about that situation, and I recount it every time I play. And
So you're right back there every time you play that?
I really am.
For me, emotions are very private. When you perform something, what you're doing is you're letting everybody into that, and I find that deeply squeamish.
Squeamish, I understand that. I understand squeamish. So what I did just there with the box lily thing, was that squeamish?
No, not at all. It's beautiful.
I really think it's important to summon up what's going on in your life. Use it somehow, it's, you know, through your fingers and express it in a way that no words can. If I start things off with just you and me playing, right, we're going to jam. So.
So the first time I sort of jammed, I felt very tentative. The first few nights were very stabbing and said, oh, I'm with a proper professional and he's really great and I'm rubbish.
Oh, nice. See, I like that. Nice. Oh.
And then I just got lost in it. I couldn't tell you how long I jammed for, I couldn't tell you what I did, I'm not embarrassed of what I did, that's the main thing. Because in that moment I was just enjoying myself.
Oh, nice. Glad it's in C as well, that's always good.
See, that was lovely.
Yeah.
That was really, really lovely. I connected with you there, didn't you?
Nice. I could cry, but I won't. There's people here and everything.
You have done that before?
No. The way that I've been taught to play music didn't encompass any of that ever, so I've never done that. When someone who plays as well as he does and sort of kind of emotes and use it so freely, you know, saying, yeah, of course, to get any kind of music out of the instrument, you have to be at one with it. You can't start with a sort of an animosity. Otherwise, how can you make decent music?
I suppose just be aware that this thing it can love you back, you know.
Yeah, no, I see that now. I really do. And it's fun. It's supposed to be fun.
It was free, it's free. It's the first time I felt free at the piano. I take so much away from that. I'm a weirdo because I do, of course, have so much emotion and so much feeling and so much passion for things. For some reason, somewhere on the line, I've learnt to sort of keep it fenced off. Whether it's been beaten out of me by years of very conformist education, I think maybe in those formative years, if you have that, you feel a little bit squeamish and embarrassed.
At the age of 18, Sue left Croydon for Cambridge University. The experience had a profound effect on her.
For a start, visually, it completely disturbed me. I'd come from school in Croydon, it's very built up, it's very concrete. I'd never seen buildings like that. But more importantly than that, the people that I met, what I wasn't and they were was highly competitive. And so I became very good at putting on a front. And you have a front for so long that you forget what the real you is, and that's what Cambridge does. People who decide to go to those sorts of universities, those sort of Ivy League universities, have a sort of a slightly neurotic sort of perfectionist streak anyway. What it does is makes it worse. Nothing is good enough because you're not good enough. Because whatever you do and however fast you run or however high you jump or however, many pages of an essay you write or however well you research it, somebody next door is doing it better. It really messes you up, I think, because one half of me doesn't care about achievements and the other half, that's all I care about. And that is the Cambridge half. Win. And maybe that's what was starting to happen, in school that day when Machio sat down and played that incredible thing. It was the dawning of that other voice saying, you're not good enough.
As Sue starts putting in the hours after her performance in Croydon, the piano's now becoming a friend rather than a foe.
In the last sort of few weeks, it's been a nice little refuge. Work's been quite stressful. And it's been good to sort of sit down and actually see myself improving. And there's a certain sort of pride that comes with that. And that's not a word I associate with myself very often. And I've sort of been playing around a bit and being a bit more freewheeling and, hanging out with Neil's good. And we tweet each other now, we're like that. I mean, we'll be married soon.
With just 3 days to go before her performance in Cheltenham, Sue's meeting Paul Lewis for her third and final mentor session.
There's a lot you can do in 3 days. Become a professional pianist is not one of those things. I think this final mentor session is difficult because I've gone about as far as I can go technically. I think if I've got fundamental mistakes going on, it's too late to correct them.
3 days before a big date, I'm trying to analyse what it is that I find difficult. That's what I want to do with Sue today. I thought there was a huge improvement. I think she just maybe needed to focus a little more on the cantabile, the singing quality of that top line. That's very important, especially in a bigger space. Yeah, that was great. And then just at the last minute, we kind of lost the thread of the melody,
Yes, it didn't go anywhere, yeah.
Yeah, especially where you have something like this, where this voice, it sort of goes up, a tenor voice turns into a soprano.
And there's no pedal there, is there? So it's...
I mean, I don't see any harm here in just using a very shallow pedal, so you don't have to press it all the way down, but just so the dampers almost come off the string.
I don't know whether you're taught how to use it or whether it's something you just sort of instinctively know or you come to know. But at the moment, I do sort of stick it down and it stays down.
The pedal isn't just on or off. There are infinite degrees in between that with which you can flutter pedal, you can half pedal, quarter pedal.
He's got this sort of finessed, little trilling sort of foot. And mine's just like, it's Chaz and Dave Hoof that I'm doing.
The 4 minutes that she's on the stage, there'll be a hard, tough 4 minutes.
This is a great opportunity and I want to use the time left to make the most of it. There's no point in running away from it now. It's too close.
But there's still a major obstacle for Sue to tackle. She's dropping in on Paul before he takes to the stage of the Wigmore Hall to see how professionals deal with nerves.
I am deeply scared. So your recommendations for me of the morning of the concert would be what?
I like to play through everything on the day because I need to be playing. I've tried that, so walking on cold stuff, and you look at the keyboard and you think, God, it all looks the same. And then I'll have a little doze.
My worry is, on the few occasions where I've performed in public playing the piano, is that my adrenaline goes into my hands and they sort of, I can't, there's no fluidity there and there's a panic. The idea of me taking my eyes off that music is just, that's my real safety net there, to just look down is terrible. It's just, there's the abyss, just...
I think it's good to be a bit nervous
I think that the concerts where I feel too relaxed in the afternoon, then I get a bit more nervous on stage. I think you need to feel a bit edgy.
And if you woke up before a big concert and you felt nothing, you'd be worried?
Yeah, I'd play like shit.
All right, is that the bed you sleep on?
Yeah.
Have all the greats bedded down there, do you think?
I hate to think about
There's
it.
the sort of patina of sweat from a million virtuosos.
Yeah, exactly. It's worse than thinking whose fingers have been on that piano.
I think when you see somebody as experienced and lauded as Paul getting worried for a gig, you realise it's a really, really, really big deal. I have to put aside this kind of jokey, half-cocked, escapist personality. There's sort of me that hides behind jokes and half measures and need to start realising it's coming soon now and I need to get on with it because my fingers they're not ready. Do I feel I've got a long way to go? Well, if playing this piece properly were a journey, say to Scotland, I've got as far as turning my key in the front door and moving towards the car.
After 4 months of practice, Sue Perkins is about to face her worst nightmare, playing the piano in front of an audience of classical music lovers. In just a few hours' time, she'll be performing at the prestigious Cheltenham International Music Festival. But her chronic fear of failure is already taking its toll.
I was in bed at midnight and I watched the clock on the television, minute by minute, until 5:27, and that's the last thing I remember. I feel dreadful. I don't think it's going to go horribly wrong, but I'm a perfectionist and I want it to go horribly right. I'm anxious about whether I can actually physically do it. I want to try and suppress the nerves sufficiently to have a good time, if that's possible, in frightening conditions.
As the performance draws closer, Sue takes Paul's advice to play the piece through.
I think everyone feels self-doubt. When you go out there, you're exposed, you're vulnerable, which seems like a masochistic thing to do, but it's a very enriching and rewarding experience, hopefully for everybody. And you've played it through plenty of times, so you know you can do it.
It will be a shame if it all goes to pot now.
As the audience start to take their seats, high-achieving Sue's fear of making a fool of herself results in debilitating nerves.
I feel pure horror, like I've not felt for 25 years. I feel really, really sick. I can actually just bleh. My hands are just starting to go. How long a memory does your subconscious have? I mean, that's a 25-year grudge match that's been playing out.